Welcome back to the Coaching Masters podcast. And I always think it's really funny when I jump into that and I start the podcast, because everybody that is watching me record this live inside of our free Facebook community called Coaching Mastery for Online Coaches, we've all been talking for the last 12 minutes anyway. But anyway, for those people listening to this on the podcast, this is indeed the beginning of the podcast, and we are talking about failing. Now, the topic of today's podcast is, are you scared of failing? Don't be, and here's why. Are you scared of failing? Don't be, and here's why. And I'm going to give you 5 reasons, right? Not just one, 5 reasons as to why you should absolutely not ever be scared of failing, right? It was Albert Einstein who said failure is success in progress. So let's really break that down. Now, the reason why that's really significant is because success is what we want. Now, success is completely subjective, right? Success is completely subjective. That is a fact. That is true. Everybody has a completely different version of success. But it is a safe bet to assume that what people want is success, their own version of success. Success in terms of monetary success, financial success, relationship-based success, parenting success, home success, health success, mind success. Now, success is an interesting word all on its own, because success has its own connotations. And a lot of the time what can happen is people can hear the word success and say, no, I don't want success. I want happiness. No, I don't want success. I want a good relationship. I don't want success. I want to be healthy. But what we need to understand is that there is an element of success in all of those things, right? If you are happy, you are successful. If you have a good relationship, you are successful. If you are healthy and you can live a long time and you look after your body and your mind and your soul, you are successful in those areas, in those fields. It's really interesting when it comes to the actual connotations that surround the word success, because popular culture has led us to believe that success only is representational of money, right? And it's not true. It's not the case. A lot of people think that because of the connotations around success is representational of what car you drive, what clothes you wear, how much money you have, what house you live in. And undoubtedly, that is an element of success if that is an element of success for you, right? Okay, let me say that again. That is an element of success if that is an element of success for you, because success is subjective. It is unique. It is individual. One person's success is not another person's success, and one person's failure is not another person's failure. And we're going to come on to that in a minute. But in order to understand Einstein's quote, we must understand success. Where he says, Albert Einstein says, failure is success in progress. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to start to really understand and start to really connect with what success means to you. Also understanding that you can be successful in various different elements of your life, right? I did this really, really interesting course about a year ago or about 2 years ago. It was very, very interesting. And it was called Lifebook, right? This course was called Lifebook. And essentially within Lifebook, they talk about the 12 core elements of your life. And I can't remember exactly what they are, but it was health and fitness, parenting, relationships, it was academic. It wasn't academic study, but it was like in terms of how your mind works and how it was learning, right? It was learning on all different levels. It was loads. I can't remember what the 12 categories are, right? I can't remember what they are. But anyway, it broke down your life in these 12 categories. It's not important at this stage. But what is important is to understand that we have all of these different elements of our life, all of these different categories. And there is no overall success that we can just sort of throw a blanket over our entire lives. There are so many different elements of our life. We have to break them down and we have to understand what the categories are, right? So the reason why that's really important is because we fall into this really fucking horrible trap of saying that we are either successful or unsuccessful, right? And what we do is we give it this huge blanket statement where we don't take the time to break down each individual element of our lives. And what we do is we generalize over our entire life and say it's either successful or unsuccessful, whilst only focusing on one or two elements of that, right? So the first thing that I want you to do as we jump into today's podcast episode is I want you to start to think about what elements of your life mean a great deal to you. Again, we have to be even more aware of the uniqueness of an individual. Like, for instance, relationships. Okay, relationships, yep, that's an important part of people's lives. But in terms of the individual nature of who we are, there are going to be certain relationships that are way more important to us than other relationships. I'll give you an example. The relationship for me, right? I'll give you a personal example. The relationship with my wife. The relationship with my wife is the most important relationship that I have, right? Now that I've just become a new dad, yes, thank you very much. It's the greatest thing ever. I also now have a relationship with my daughter. So the relationship with my wife and the relationship with my daughter are the two most important relationships in my life. So when you go through the categories of your life and you think to yourself, you know, what elements of my life do I need to pay attention to? You could say it's something like relationships, but again, it's a lot more granular than that. It's a lot more unique and detailed and individual and bespoke than that. You know, it's not just relationships in general. It's what relationships. It's not just health in general. It's what element of your health. Is it your respiratory health? Is it the ability to be able to breathe, or is it the ability to be able to move, or is it the ability to be able to see? For instance, we can get more granular. When it comes to your intellect, that was one of the categories, intellect, right? Study, learning, right? Again, that's a huge blanket statement. It's not just learning in general. Is it learning to be able to play the guitar? Is it learning how to be a forgiving person? Is it learning how to be confident? Is it learning how to love? So what I want you guys to do is I want you to think about what categories of your life are the most important to you. Because nobody can make that decision for you. Nobody can say that there is a category of your life that is more important or less important than another one. Only you can make that decision. The reason why I like to start with that on the subject of failure is because once again, we fall into this huge trap of generalization. We can look at our lives and say, oh, I'm a failure. I failed. And what we're actually doing is we're looking at one very specific category of our life. And within that category, we tend to be looking at one very specific time in our life. And within that time, we tend to be looking at one very specific event. And when we look at that event, it's an event that didn't get the outcome which we were hoping for. And we're neglecting all of the other wonderful stuff that happened, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So what we then do is we then say, I failed, right? And therefore I'm a failure. What we do is we create these huge overarching generalizations based upon single, and it tends to be single events within a specific time of our life, within a specific category of our life. How fucking crazy is that? So anyway, we're going to dive into this and we're really going to break this down today in a big way, because what I want you to do is I want you to be able to walk away from today with a complete shift of mindset around the idea of what it means to fail. But going back to Einstein's quote, okay, failure is success in progress. So what we need to do is we need to break down the categories of our life. We need to understand what categories are the most important to us. What ones are the priorities? What ones are the ones that deserve our love, our time, our attention? And then what we really need to understand, based on Einstein's quote, is when we experience outcomes within that category of our life, outcomes that were not desirable, outcomes that we didn't hope for or want, how can we understand how that outcome is success in progress? How is it that that outcome is moving us closer towards the thing that we actually want, and therefore we have not failed and we are not a failure? We are, by definition, success in progress. So anybody that gets really hung up and caught on that and says, I'm a failure, you by definition, you are success in progress. But what that means is we need to just understand how the progress works, where the progress is moving, and how to follow it, right? And I'm going to do that in 5 ways today. 5 very, very specific ways. Now, success is subjective. Failure is subjective. But there is one thing that also is very, very true. When it comes to failure, we have a lot of personal limiting beliefs around the word itself. I mean, each and every one of us, for those people that have studied NLP at the Coaching Masters, under myself, Liam James Collins, I'm the NLP trainer at TCM. I'm the head trainer at TCM, but I created both the NLP master course, and NLP really is my baby. For those people that have studied NLP under me, you will understand the intricate details of an internal representation. An internal representation is how we internally represent an event, a person, a place, information, right? Now, everybody is going to have a different internal representation of failure itself, okay? Everybody's going to have a different internal representation, and that basically means a meaning, right? That's what an internal representation is. It's a meaning, okay? Everybody is going to have a different meaning to the word fail, to the word failure. But there's one thing that's very, very common. Most of the time, people's meanings that are related to that word or those words is not a good one, right? It's detrimental. It holds us back. It's limiting. We have been led to believe that to fail is not a good thing. And you might be listening to that and thinking, well, of course we've been led to believe failing is not a good thing. By the very nature of failing, it's a negative, it's not a good thing, it's backwards, it's moving backwards, it's losing progress. But it's absolutely not true. And after today's podcast, you will understand why failing is genuinely something that I wish for, I hope for, I look for, I strive for, I fucking hunt it out. I swear to God, I hunt it out. And the reason why I hunt out failing and the ability and opportunity to fail is because of these 5 reasons that I'm going to talk to you about today. But the result of the 5 things that we're going to talk about today is moving closer towards my definition of success. Now, I don't like to fail just for the sake of failing. I like to fail because of the 5 things that it gives me. That's why I like to fail. I like to fail because of the 5 benefits that I receive from failing. Now, what's really interesting here is also, if you've studied NLP at the Coaching Masters, you'll also be thinking, but hang on a minute, Liam, there's that very, very famous line, there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And that is absolutely true. And in fact, that's one of the 5 that we're going to be talking about. So if you're there and you've studied NLP and this is making you uncomfortable and you're thinking, hang on a minute, no, I don't want to go down this path because there is no such thing as failure. There is only feedback. It's true to an extent. And as you guys know, I am a big advocate for fighting against the old, rusty, dusty ideas of neuro-linguistic programming. And I'm the one that's trying to bring it into the 21st century and breathe new life into it. And what comes with that is fighting against a lot of the bullshit jargon and a lot of NLP stuff that was created many years ago and not updated. Because there is such thing as failure, right? Feedback is one of the 5 benefits of failure. So when people say there's no such thing as failure, only feedback, there's an element of that that's true. And a lot of the time in NLP, we use that because it's an easy way of explaining how if you can learn from a mistake or you can learn from failure, then you can progress. It's an easy way of relaying that message. But what we're going to be doing today on this Power Hour and this podcast episode is we're actually going to be diving into that idea on a much, much deeper level. So we're not only looking at the feedback, we're looking at that plus 4 other benefits of failing. But what I wanted to do to kick this off, and it's really interesting. So Jim Lutz in the comments here watching this live said, when asked why he didn't get discouraged after 1,000 failed attempts to create the light bulb, Thomas Edison said, I have not failed. I found 1,000 ways it would not work. And interestingly, Jim, I'm glad you said that because we're going to be jumping onto Thomas Edison in a bit. And you are absolutely correct. He did find 1,000 ways that did not work. And that down due to the 5 things that we're going to be covering today, that is success in progress. That's exactly what Einstein was talking about. That is a great example of success in progress. But I wanted to tell you about some of the places throughout my life, personally, where I have failed. And having failed in these areas of my life, due to the 5 benefits of failure, which I'm going to teach you in a moment. By the way, how exciting is that? That after today's power hour, after listening to this podcast, you are going to be able to walk away with 5 reasons as to why failure is a good thing. Let me know in the comments, for those people watching this live, is that something that you would find very useful? Is that something that you would be able to benefit from, right? Both personally and professionally, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, to be able to walk away with 5 different reasons as to why failure is something you should hope for and wish for. Would that be useful? Let me know in the comments. And what I'm going to do whilst people are commenting, I'm going to tell you a few ways in my past how I have failed, right? And why they have been a huge, huge benefit to me. So one of the first failures that I really, truly remember, is that true? One of the first ones I remember? I guess it is. I don't think I was very sort of hyper aware of the idea of success and failure when I was that young. It was more sort of like moving into like my early teenage years that I started really paying attention to it. But one of the first ones was failing my driving test, right? And I remember at the time, I was absolutely devastated, right? I was 17 years old. I wanted my freedom. I wanted to pass my driving test. I wanted to be able to just get out there on the road, be on my own. And you know that element of freedom that you achieve when you pass your driving test at 17, because you're mobile for the first time, like really properly mobile. And I failed the first time, right? So again, it's really interesting how it even uses that language for something like a driving test, pass or fail, right? And so I failed, right? That was the thing. I failed. Now, interestingly enough, I absolutely, in hindsight, looking back, was not in any way ready to pass that test, right? Because what I did is I waited, I did more lessons, I got better, got more skillful, blah, blah, blah. And then the second time round, I passed my driving test. And then having passed the second time, I very, very quickly got into a really bad crash, right? When I was 17, I crashed my car, like really badly. And it wasn't so bad where I was like really hurt or anything, but the car was really badly destroyed. I went into the back of someone. I just wasn't a good enough driver, right? I was a young man. I didn't know what I was doing. Now, in hindsight, looking back, if the crash that I got into after having failed the first time, passed the second time, and then also having been on the road for, say, 6 months, could you even imagine how bad of a crash I could have got into if I had passed that driving test the first time? So even though I'm going to dive into the actual 5 elements of the 5 benefits of failing, I mean, as a result of that one, I am still here. Like I very well actually maybe wouldn't even be here. So again, even though what we need to be able to dissect a failure, and it's quite difficult to do it at the time because there are a lot of emotions that are attached to passing or failing something. Really, if we're able to dissect it, and I'm going to give you 5 ways of dissecting it, then it puts us in a much stronger position to understand what we've gained. And in that instance, I fucking gained my life because I very well could have crashed in a much worse way. Second time I failed, right? I tried going to college after I was in school. And my idea was like, I wanted to go to college, get really good A-levels, and I wanted to try to go to a university in America. That's what I really wanted to do. And I completely failed those A-levels, like completely flopped them altogether. And so as a result of that, what I did is I went and got a job. And I went and got a job at a Virgin Active gym when I was 18, and I met Claudia. That's where I met her. So I met my future wife and the future mother of my gorgeous daughter Posey when I had failed my A-levels and went and got a job. So again, look at the result of that, right? Look at what that has turned into. Now, if I had passed those A-levels, I may have gone in a completely different direction. I may not have ever got that job. And if I didn't get that job, I wouldn't have met Claudia. And my life wouldn't be what it is now. So again, at the time, I could think, right, I really failed. I failed my A-levels. I was really looking forward to going to that university, and I wanted to go and do this. But that again, has resulted in something way better, like a million times better. So again, the result has been something that's just, you can't actually, it does it a disservice to even say, the result is something better than the result that it would have been. It's just that it's completely and utterly life transforming to an extent that you couldn't even imagine, right? It's proper sliding doors. I could go left or I could go right. That failure turned into something that utterly transformed every element of my life. When I was younger, I really wanted to be a professional wrestler, right? And I actually started a professional wrestling business called the British Wrestling Evolution. And the reason I started that business was because no one was hiring me as a professional wrestler. Right? I wanted to be in the WWE. I wanted to be like a big time wrestler. And anyway, that business that I started, I didn't really love it. I didn't put much passion into it. And the business and my wrestling career failed, right? Completely failed. And the reason I'm always doing this is because I now know the 5 benefits. I know the 5 benefits of a failure. So I'm doing this now. I'm doing like the bunny ears, like quotation marks, because now in my life, anytime there's a failure, like past or present, I get so excited about it because I know the benefits of it. For instance, my wrestling career failed. So instead, I decided to become an actor. And then when I went down that path, I had a flourishing acting career. I was on the television. I did dramas for the BBC. I was on the London stage for many years. I ended up doing an amazing film with Benedict Cumberbatch, and I went to his house for dinner afterwards. I was Tom Hardy's body double in Batman. I worked on Batman for 6 months. I ended up breaking bread with Morgan Freeman, talking about acting with Michael Caine. I was doing scenes with Christian Bale. And that all was a result of my wrestling career failing, right? So again, what an incredible result from a failure, okay? Then by 25, I had failed to land a big movie where I was the lead, right? And that's what I was gunning for. I was gunning for that big movie where I was the lead. And by 25, I'd failed to make that happen. And I was put in a position where I needed to go and get a job, right? Because if I wasn't acting, I wasn't paying my bills. And at the time, I wasn't acting. So I was put in this position where I have to go and get a job. And I got a job as a postman, right? Again, a failure. And as that job, right, when I was a postman, it was via that job, because I felt really low and I felt like I let myself down, that I explored the world of coaching, right? That's where I explored the world of coaching. However many years later, look at the position I'm in now. I'd left that job, became a coach, created a successful coaching career, started the Coaching Masters, and up until this point in my life, the rest is history, right? There's a lot more to unfold, but the rest is history. So through personal failures, right? Personal failures, they have resulted in the most incredible life-changing events for me, right? Because failures are launch pads to the next stage. They are always 100% of the time launch pads to the next stage, right? Now, why would we be afraid to fail if we really, truly embraced and accepted that idea? Why would we be afraid to fail? Now, bearing in mind, when I'm talking about failure, I'm not talking about, we're not in the realm of those life events, those devastating life events where maybe you lose a loved one or something like that. We're not allocating that to the realm of failure here. We're talking about the type of failure where you attempt to do something and it doesn't go how you wanted it to go. We're talking about the type of failure where you attempt to either do something or go somewhere or see someone or say something or whatever. You've attempted something and the outcome was not the outcome you wanted. That's the version of failure that we're talking about. Like all of the examples I gave you there, I wanted to pass my driving test. I didn't get the outcome I wanted. I wanted to pass my A levels. I didn't get the outcome I wanted. I wanted to be a professional wrestler. I didn't get the outcome I wanted. I wanted to be a leading man in big movies by the time I was 25. I didn't get the outcome I wanted. I then, the rest is history or whatever. I became a coach. Coaching Masters is here. It's amazing. But again, all of those things were launch pads to something considerably better, right? So if we really wrap our heads around and embrace the fact that that is absolutely true, would we be scared of failing or would we welcome it? Would we hope for it? If we knew that each time we failed, that was going to become a launch pad to something better, maybe not instantly. And at first, it may be very difficult to see what it's a launch pad for. And it may feel really shitty and you let yourself down and you're beating yourself up, right? In the initial immediacy of the failure of the undesirable outcome. However, even with all of that in mind, if we absolutely knew for a fact, and in fact, something better than knowing, we believed, right? We believed. We absolutely believed that every single failure was a launch pad to something better. Would we be scared of failing? The answer is no. Of course we wouldn't. We would welcome it and we would want it. Now, that's the first thing of the 5 elements that we're going to be talking about. The first one is called new opportunity, right, ladies and gentlemen? So write this down. The first one is called new opportunity. Via experience, and I can imagine, I'm not the only one, I can imagine, right, like for instance, okay, Julie Craven in the comments here, watching live within Coaching Mastery, our online community, our Facebook community for coaches. She says, you are so right. Our business collapsed in 2019. And yes, it was scary and we felt like failures. But oh my God, it's propelled us to where we are now and life is 1,000,000 times better. No failures, just a nudge on a different and better path, right? The experiences that I've had and the experience there that Julie has mentioned, they are not unique. They're not unique. If you really look back at the times in your life where you did not yield the outcome that you wanted in that moment, I can guarantee that the vast majority of them, in one way or another, led to something that you now love, appreciate, and respect. It either introduced a person into your life, it introduced a new learning, it introduced a new place, it introduced a shift in mindset, it introduced an up-leveling of your health or of your wellness or the way you think about yourself. It's going to have introduced something that you now love, respect, and appreciate that was not there before, right? It's sliding doors. It's sliding doors. If anyone's ever seen the movie Sliding Doors, I've actually not seen it, right? But I know the example. Like, people talk about it all the time. Gwyneth Paltrow plays this character. I think it's based in London, where she misses a train. And the whole film, it sort of unfolds by showing what her life would be like if she got the train and what her life would be like if she missed the train. And how, by just those sliding doors, her life goes on 2 completely different trajectories, 2 completely different paths. A failure, getting an outcome that you don't want in the immediacy, in the moment, is sliding doors. It inevitably sends your life off in a different direction. And at first, it may not feel like the direction that you want, but it is a different direction. And by the very nature of that, you will be introduced to someone, something, some place, some shift that you will eventually love, respect, and appreciate. So it's actually a fact. It's a straight up fact that a failure will create a new opportunity. It can't not. I mean, if there's anyone within the community that understands the nature of physics, right? Or understand, you tell me, right? I'm no expert on this, but I can fucking guarantee there's some law in physics. There's going to be some universal law that explains the reason as to why each failure can only create a new opportunity. It can't not create a new opportunity because of sliding doors. It inevitably has to send you in a different direction. And at first, it's not the direction that we want in that moment, but it is a new direction. And via new direction, there will always be new opportunity. Always. 100% of the time. So that's the first one, right? That's one of 5. That's the first benefit of failing. That's the first reason as to why I cannot fucking wait. Cannot wait for my next failure. I can't wait for it, right? I look for it. I hunt it down. I try to find it. Where can I fail? Because I want that sliding door. I want it to send me in another direction to find the new opportunity, right? I can't wait. I fucking love it. I love a failure. It's amazing, right? Talk about a mindset shift. Pretty good, right? The second one is called only feedback. Now, for those people that have studied NLP under me, you will understand this one. When they say there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. Now you're starting to understand there is such a thing as failure, right? And one of the fucking benefits of failure is a new opportunity. The second benefit of it is feedback, right? The lessons that we learn are absolutely priceless. Fucking priceless. The lessons that you learn via a failure, they become, and I'm sure you would agree with me, for those people that have experienced failures in your time, right? Especially the ones that have now, you've allowed some time to pass. For those people watching this live that have experienced some failures, let me know in the comments, right, if this is true. You inevitably learn something, right? You inevitably learn something. You either learn something about yourself, about how your mind works, about how you react, about how you think. You learn something about another person, a place, an event, a thing. You learn something, right? Those lessons are totally priceless. They're invaluable because those are the ones that stick with us forever and they shape our future. They completely shape the pathway in which we move. Right, there we go. Jennifer says the law of cause and effect. There we go. That's I knew I fucking read that somewhere. I read that in I think it was a book called what was it called? What was it called? A Happy Pocket Full of Money. Talks about the law of cause and effect. But it's absolutely true. So anyway, those lessons that you learn, they're priceless. They're fucking priceless because they are the lessons that really stand out to you. They're the ones that mean something. They're the ones that shape the pathway of where you move as your life unfolds in front of you. I'll tell you an example I like to use. You know Scouts, right? You know how Scouts and I don't know the girl version of it. Girl Scouts or Brownies, they call them Brownies here in the UK. I think it's Girl Scouts in the US. They collect badges, right? They collect badges. So if they do a good deed or I don't know what they get badges for. I have no idea. But I mean, when I was a kid, they had a thing called Beavers, which was like a step before Cubs and then it's Scouts. And like if you learn how to sew, you get a badge. If you learn, I fucking can't remember actually. Was it always physical stuff, helping someone across the street? But then there were more in-depth things like showing forgiveness and being confident in a tough situation, stuff like that, right? Anyway, Scouts and Brownies and Guides. There we go. Julie says Brownies and Guides. They get badges, right? This is very much like that. When you fail, you get a badge. And that badge is really fucking valuable. And you don't know what the badge is in the immediacy of the failure. The badge reveals itself over time. You learn sometimes, the badge is the lesson, right? You learn something. That's why Scouts get a badge, because they've learned how to do something new. And then the badge represents the lesson, right? That's what it's all about. This is something I've learned, and this is to remind me what I've learned. When you fail, you get a lesson, right? Sometimes it's an immediate lesson and you know exactly what it is. And sometimes the lesson reveals itself over time. But it's like those badges. You're earning one of those badges. And those badges, those lessons, always tend to be something that over the course of your life become incredibly valuable. And they either stop you from doing something bad, they either stop you from going someplace shit, they stop you from getting in a bad relationship, they stop you from beating yourself up. Now, it's a lesson that prevents you from doing something that you don't want to be doing a second time or doing it again. Or it's the lesson that propels you towards something. And the reason why lessons, i.e. as well, coaching as well, is very valuable is because it completely accelerates the speed in which you reach your goal. So every time you have one of those failures, not only does number one, it open up a new opportunity, but number two, it inevitably teaches you something completely invaluable and you earn one of those badges. And that's what they mean by feedback instead of failure. Because as long as you can learn from the lesson, which you will, right? Even if you're not doing it consciously, at some point you will learn from the lesson. You naturally pick up the lessons along the way. Right? You have to do it. Even if the outcome is not what you wanted, you naturally pick up the lesson along the way. And that lesson becomes incredibly invaluable. So we've got number one, a new opportunity. Number two, only feedback. Number three is called unlimited shots. And I'm not talking about shots like shots of tequila. I don't like tequila, by the way. I really wish I did. I think tequila is like quite a cool drink, but I love rum. Oh, I love rum. I really do. And I quite like vodka as well. But rum is like, if I'm going to have a drink, which is like once every, honestly, I drink very rarely. I drink probably like once every 3 or 4 months. I have a drink with my friends. Rum's my drink. But anyway, that's not the kind of shots we're talking about. We're not talking about those sort of shots. The number 3 is called unlimited shots. It's the understanding that there are not many things in this world that's a one-time deal. Like, really, there are not. Like, the multitude of things that we can fail at, the chances are you get another shot, right? There are some things that are limited, right? For instance, one of my friends, he is just one of the most incredible people I've ever met. Like, he's a real gentleman, right? He's like about 6'3". He's strong as an ox. He's been in the military for the last 12 years. I'm talking proper English gent. His name's Edward Williams. Now, I know that he's gone for the SAS selection process, right? He's not told me that much about it, but I know he's gone for it. And I decided to look into it, and I was like, I wonder what that entails. And I looked it up, and I was reading about all the SAS selection process, and I came to discover that if you don't pass it, I think you only get like 2 attempts, right? And then you're not allowed to try to do it again. That's one of those things that doesn't have an unlimited amount of shots, right? However, it inevitably will give you, number 1, set you off on a new opportunity, and give you, number 2, some very valuable lessons. It's one of those examples, one of those very rare examples that doesn't have number 3, which is unlimited shots. But the very vast majority of things have unlimited shots, right? Now, again, this is where Jim Lutz in the comments that was talking about Thomas Edison is absolutely spot on with his example. If Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, right, was convinced there was only a limited amount of shots that he could take before he gets this fucking thing right, he failed over 1,000 times to create the light bulb. And eventually he created it. And like Jim said there, when somebody asked him, he said it wasn't 1,000 failed attempts. It was 1,000 ways in which it didn't work, or whatever the quote was. I mean, Jim wrote it down earlier. Let's quickly find it, because it is really spot on. That example is spot on. But yeah, when asked why didn't he get discouraged after 1,000 failed attempts to create the light bulb, Thomas Edison said, "I have not failed. I found 1,000 ways it would not work." And again, if Thomas Edison thought that there were not unlimited shots, he would have stopped taking his shot. And I tell you what, this lovely ring light that I've got in front of me that keeps my face nice and illuminated when I do these lives, either wouldn't be here or it would look a lot fucking different. Thomas Edison created the light bulb, and our lives are totally different for it. So what I want you to understand about number 3 is that when you have one of these failures, you can go again. You can go again. Imagine if the driving test was a one-time thing, a one-time shot. The vast majority of people would never be allowed to drive, right? You do it again. So that's the next thing I want you to really understand is when you have one of these failures, right? Think, number 1, this is creating a new opportunity. That is inevitable. It's the law of cause and effect. It's a fucking fact. I cannot wait to see what that new opportunity is. Number 2, I inevitably will learn something completely invaluable by this failure. Undoubtedly, it can't not happen. So I'm looking forward to that. And number 3, I'll make the decision to try again. I will take another shot, right? I will take another shot. Because number 3 is unlimited shots. Number 4 is called wisdom through pain. Now, I've got a very interesting story. The shaman of some ancient tribes, right? They were not allowed. I know this is fucking incredible. When you really wrap your head around this is good stuff, right? Shamans of some ancient tribes. I don't know if it's also like a current thing as well. I'd have to find that out. But the way in which I learned it was that it was shamans of ancient tribes were not allowed to be the shaman or shaman, however you pronounce it, until they had been wounded in battle. And the reason for that was because within these tribes, within these ancient cultures, they believed that wisdom enters your body through scars and cuts and wounds. So you were not allowed to be the shaman because you were not considered to have enough wisdom until you had literally failed in battle, until you'd been cut down, right? And you had the scars to show that you had been damaged, that you had been cut, that you had the pain. It's the same reason, and I can't remember what this is called. Someone Google this. It's the same reason why in Japan, is it Japan? I think so. Where china breaks, there's this thing where they will fill the cracks with gold, right? Not replace the cup, not replace the plate or the china. They will fix it, but they will fill the cracks with gold, right? How fucking incredible is that? How amazing is that? Because they have a firm understanding that those scars are beautiful. They show history. They show experience. So the idea with number 4 is that there is no wisdom through pain, and pain is character building. That's what I really, 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 really want you guys to embrace, right? Pain is character building. When you have failed, that inevitably is going to help build your character in one way or another. It's going to thicken your skin. It's going to give you wisdom. It's going to give you experience. Now, of course, this isn't the same as number 2, which is giving you a lesson. Number 2 is very specifically about teaching you something new, right? Number 4 is about building your character through pain. There is no wisdom without the pain, according to these cultures. And I think there's a lot to take from that, because you inevitably will change. In one way or another, you'll change. Your character will change, your mindset will change, your perception will change, your outlook will change. It has to change because you've gained a new experience. And experiences are the things that shape our beliefs, right? Experiences shape our beliefs. And our beliefs shape our personality. And our personality and our character are very heavily linked. So via the failures, you will have a shift in perception because you will have a new experience. And that experience will create or alter beliefs, and those beliefs will shift perspective and create character. So your character will change. Your character will enhance in some way because of the failure that you've had. Another huge, gigantic benefit of failing. The fifth and final one, is called reset and alignment. Okay, reset and alignment. So let's just quickly break this down, what we've been talking about so far. So when you fail, these are all of the reasons. These are the 5 reasons as to why you should absolutely love failing. Fucking love it. Wish for it, hunt it down, look for it. The first one is that via the law of cause and effect. Thank you very much. Can't remember who it was that said that. It was Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. Via the law of cause and effect, the first one is it has to create a new opportunity. It has to, right? That has to happen. The second one is you will learn something completely invaluable, right? Via feedback. You will learn something that you will use for the rest of your life. The third one is that you have unlimited shots. It's not a one-time thing, right? You can go again. The fourth thing is that it will build your character. Wisdom through pain, okay? Wisdom through experience. It will shape your beliefs and therefore shape your personality and your character. And the fifth one, which is reset and alignment, is when you experience a failure, even though in the moment, right? In the moment, it can be tough. In the moment, it can haze your perception and your viewpoint, and it can raise your negative emotions. What it also does is it forces you to stop and look at what you really want. It forces you to do that because what you really wanted in that moment was that outcome. And you didn't get that outcome that you wanted. So inevitably, what has to happen if you don't get the thing you want? You need a new thing to want, right? Even if it's the same thing, but you're going to give it a different attempt with your unlimited shots, it slightly changes. So what it inevitably does is it makes you stop, breathe, and look at what you want and go again, right? It realigns your goals, your aspirations, your desires. Use failure as a natural milestone, right? This is what it's all about. It's all about using failures as these natural milestones to check in with who you are, your long-term goals, your long-term aspirations, and reassess what it is you really want. And ask yourself, is this what I want? Am I prepared to do what it takes? Have I made these mistakes previously? What can I learn from that? What can I take from it? What do I not want next? Where do I want to go? What pathway do I want to go down? Because without failure, there is no progress, right? There's no progress. It's an absolute fact. That's why Einstein said failure was success in progress. So if you want progress, which of course we do, right? It's just human nature to want to progress. You absolutely have to fail. You have to. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, you know what? If you fail, don't worry about it. It's okay because you can still progress. No. It's not that. It's if you want to progress, you have to fucking fail. You have to. There's no option. You have to fail, right? Because if it was just one desired outcome to another, right? There's no new opportunities being created. There's no fucking lessons being taken from that. There's no ability to try something a second time with your unlimited shots, right? There's no character building, wisdom through pain, and there's never any reason to stop and reassess what it is you want. There's never any reason to stop and think, is this what I really want? Is this the path that I want to go down? Am I willing to do what it takes? Maybe what I should do is I need to stop, I need to wipe the slate clean, and I need to think again. I need to think about what I care about. I need to think about what is valuable to me. What do I value? What do I believe? What do I want to achieve? When you fail, it puts you in a position where you're like, you know what? I need to fucking think again. I need to wipe the slate clean. I need to think again. And failing is an amazing way of doing that. It's fucking awesome because you basically are put in a position where you don't have a choice. It's almost like, to give you an example, that's kind of like understanding the benefits of meditation but never doing it. And then for some reason being put in a position where you just have to do it. And so you just do it because you have to do it. And therefore then you're getting into it and you see the benefits of it. Failing is like, you have to reassess. You have to fucking go back to the drawing board, look at the action plan and make some decisions. So guys, just to round off this episode, those are the 5 reasons as to why you should absolutely love failing and really hope that it fucking happens in your life. 1, you will inevitably create a new opportunity. 2, you will learn lessons that will change the entire trajectory of your future. 3, you've got unlimited shots anyway, so you can go again. You might as well go again. 4, wisdom through pain, which is all about character building through setbacks. And 5, you're put in a position where you reset and you figure out your own personal alignment. They are the 5 benefits and 5 results of failures. So next time, you may potentially fail, or there's something you want to do, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking, yeah, I may fail. Fucking do it and hope you do. I fucking hope you do. Via those 5 benefits, every shot you want to take moving forward has just become a win-win. Every single shot. There's the win of getting the outcome you want, done and dusted, nice and clean. And there is the win of failing, which takes a little bit longer because you need to move through some negative emotions via the initial setback, but it is a win. It is a win. It's fucking no doubt about it. So every shot you want to take moving forward for the rest of your life has just in this moment become a win-win. Congratulations. That is the power of failing. This can be your reality. Coach your way to freedom. I love you all. You're powerful. And I'll speak to you very, very soon.